Bright Simmons of Imani, just as we're on air, they just sent this to me. He said, those who care about the reputation of the new Ghanaian government would be interested in knowing that an international bank has reached out confidentially to the office of the current president with a warning that an individual who intends to be named to high ministerial office is the subject of adverse investigations, and that the outcomes of these investigations may become public. The president was thus being alerted about the potential distractions this individual's appointment may cause, given that oral's credibility requires the government to maintain the moral high ground. It is generally important that a Ghanaian government avoids a chain of scandals. Scandals accumulate to sap goodwill. We can't say more than this. Adieu. It is coming. Oh, some things are coming. No, but I know who he's talking about. This story has been coming out over the last 1 hour. I know who he's talking about. But we all can't because of regulation, legal, and all of that. You can't come on television and say before the investigators come and say. The investigators are not supposed to be sharing the information with journalists. They're supposed to be sharing the information with official government people. So the investigators have told their colleagues and friends who are media that the information is gone out to the government. You can just say this. That's why Bright Simmons ends, when they discuss it, they always tell you that this is all you can say. That's why Bright Simmons ends by saying that we can't say more. He's just doing fidelity to the conversations he's had with the people who have told him that this is all you can say. So I'm sure in publishing this, he'll send it to them as well. That is all I said. It says that those who care about the reputation of the new Ghanaian government will be interested in knowing that an international bank has reached out confidentially to the office of the current president with a warning that an individual he intends to name to the high ministerial office is subject of adverse investigations, and that the outcomes of these investigations may become public. The president, that is John Dramani Mahama, was thus being alerted about the potential distractions this individual's appointment may cause, given that oral's credibility requires the government to maintain the moral high ground. It is generally important that a Ghanaian government avoids a chain of scandals. Scandals, he says, accumulate to sap goodwill. We can't say more than that. Lawyer, so when does it say that a bill has ended its life?
Okay, so a bill ends its life conventionally with the parliament that passed it. So, or a parliament that worked on the bill or worked on the processes of getting the bill passed. And so if the bill did not become law with the parliament that initiated or worked on it, then the bill dies with that parliament. And the rationale is that parliaments exist in terms. I don't know if you remember, but recently the Supreme Court even passed a judgment on that issue, where the Attorney General urged the argument that we must interpret parliaments. The case on the crossing carpets.
Yes.
Interpretation of parliament should be limited to the terms.
Yes, of the people.
So it's 4 years. You are elected for a term of 4 years.
Yes.
And so that is.
So you can't be said to be crossing carpet in the future.
More or less, that is the effect. To prevent political parties from controlling what goes on in parliament and per people's, parochial whims, controlling what happens on the floor.
So if a bill comes to parliament, starting from first reading, second reading, third reading, it must complete. When do we say that a bill has completed its life?
So it is laid, when you say complete its life?
Complete its life so that parliament has finished with it.
Okay, so it is laid, it is read, the first, the second, the third. It is referred to whichever committee would work on it. All the amendments are considered. And then once it is brought in its final state, still as a bill, it is passed after the third reading.
By parliament.
By parliament. Now, after it is passed, it is still a bill. It is not a law. So it becomes a law when it is transmitted to the president and the president assents by signing it into law. Now, where do we get this from? This is what we sort of inherited from the UK, because for a very long time,
And the US too.
and the US. Right. So for a very long time, the UK, the monarch of the United Kingdom, was all powerful. So it was a supreme monarch. They did everything themselves. But as time went on, I don't know if you remember Oliver Cromwell and the fights between parliaments and the monarchy. So they had to sort of attempt to democratize their system. In attempting to democratize their system, they thought it wise not to alienate the monarchy, fully. So the head of state has a role to play in passing the laws. And what role does the head of state have to play? Signing.
Yeah.
So this is what we have sort of carried here.
So in exercising that authority, the president is acting as a head of state as opposed to head of government.
Yes.
All right.
As a head of state in assenting to those bills.
So you are saying that when the bill has passed third reading, passed by parliament, and is on its way to the presidency, it is still a bill.
It is still a bill.
Okay.
So
So when it goes to the president, what options do the president have?
So under Article 106 of the Constitution, the president has two options. The first is to sign it if he agrees with every term in the Constitution, in the bill. The second is if he disagrees, he has the option of remitting it back to Parliament with a memo that indicates the issues he has with the bill. Now, when he sends it back to Parliament with the memo, Parliament also has another option to sort of accept the recommendations of the president and rework the bill, or to override the presidential decision by a 2/3 majority. So a 2/3 majority of the House, that's about 66%, will then vote, and based on that vote, the bill will be transmitted back to the president. Now, when it goes back to the president has no other option but to sign the bill into law.
So the president still has to sign the bill.
That is
Even if his role is circumvented by the law, by the 2/3.
Yes.
Okay, so if assuming that this bill had come back, 2/3 has passed it, the president still has to sign it before it is law.
Compulsorily.
Oh, this one is compulsory. So if he refuses to sign, what happens? The bill would deem passed.
Well, the Constitution is silent on that, but
it would appear so.
It would
if 2/3, if he brings the bill back, and 2/3 say we like it, it's deemed passed.
Yes, but Article 106 uses the word shall. So what's the remedies available?
Will be sanctions.
Because
so at that stage, the bill is still not passed.
The bill is still not passed. It's not law. Because
so your view of this matter is that you agree with President Mahama that the LGBT bill has failed. It has to start again.
Yes, I agree with
because
Mahama
the argument that is being made by the other lawyers, and we'll show the 6-minute tape of Bafo who was in the studio. The argument they are making is that the parliament has finished their process.
Yes,
it is before the president. He can sign it.
Okay.
One president is gone, another president has come. Government is a continuum. So parliament is parliament. A parliament is gone, but they did their work. So this president can sign it. How is that difficult for you to accept?
You see, the thing is, Parliament may have done its work, but the process of lawmaking is not over. Lawmaking does not end with Parliament. So the fact that Parliament has passed the bill doesn't mean the law has been born. The law is born when the president assents to it. Now, if the president exercises his option of the bill going back to Parliament for the 2/3, the processes.
Assuming he wants to clarifications.
Yes, assuming he doesn't agree.
It means he has to write back to Parliament.
He has to write back with a memo. Which Parliament is he writing to?
He will be writing to the current Parliament.
Which is the 9th Parliament, is that not so?
And this bill was worked on by the 8th Parliament.
By the 8th Parliament.
So right there, immediately you know that the bill has died.
Exactly. Because if it comes back to the 9th Parliament, and they say, well, we didn't work on this.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it.
What about those on the subcommittee who have left and they have gone home?
Yes, and the new ones who didn't say anything about it,
right? How is that, on what basis, how is that going to work? So what we must understand is that the process of lawmaking involves all 3 arms of government.
The judiciary?
Yes.
What do they do?
Interpretation is a form.
Oh, but that's an option.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Generally.
But in terms of passing the bill, we are limiting ourselves to.
Article 106.
It's Parliament and the President.
Yes, the Executive and Parliament. And so long as the process has not been completed.
Completed means the President has signed it.
And it's now law. It's now born.
Until then, the process has not completed.
Exactly. And
so if a parliament's tenure ends before the bill is signed,
yes,
the bill has failed.
The bill has failed. Because if the new president is to exercise his decision, his prerogative, to remit it back to parliament, he's not remitting it back to the parliament that worked on it. He's remitting it to another parliament. Now, we also have to remember, there's a general principle. One parliament cannot bind another parliament.
Yeah, absolutely not, yeah.
So, I think, is the new parliament going to say, well, we were not the ones who were...
So in that vein, in that context, and in that respect, you think President Mahama doesn't have a mandate to sign this bill? He has no such mandate.
He has no such mandate.
To sign it.
But I think that this issue should be submitted for purpose of interpretation for future references, for future purposes. But I think, as it stands now, there is technically no bill, because the bill,
so any bill that left, even if it left Parliament after third reading, that did not return from the President's desk as signed, has failed.
Yes, because it's a bill.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Now, let's talk about our friend Kwame A+. Now, Kwame A+ has just joined the parliament, as you know, and he's a member of parliament for Gomoa. And he's had something to say about the sirens that the parliamentarians use. And it brings back home the question of how we campaign and the things we say when we are campaigning. We've seen vetting in parliament, sometimes NDC, sometimes MPP, where after the campaign, they come for the appointment committee hearings and they ask that you said this during the campaign. They said, oh, I'm sorry about this. It was just campaign. Somehow we don't learn from it. The next campaign comes, we do that again. The next campaign comes, we do that again, again, and again. This is Kwame A+, regretting, criticizing MPs for using sirens. You know that there was this bill that came out, a law that was going to Parliament by the Minister of Transport, that the category of people can use sirens, the President, the Vice President, Speaker of Parliament, Chief Justice. And we all went in arms, in uproar, that why should MPs have siren? They shouldn't have siren. A+ was one of those who said that on UTV, that they shouldn't have sirens. Now, he says that having been to Parliament now and been sworn in as a member of Parliament, done a few days, weeks with the MPs, he now thinks that they actually do need the sirens. I'm not against what A+ is saying. I'm not for what he's saying. I'm just sharing with you, viewers, that this is before and after. Have a listen.
It is not an easy task at all. Today, for instance, as with the president in my constituency, the Ahmadiyya Muslim had their convention, annual convention, and you know, it's in my constituency. That's where they have it in Gomoa.
Okay.
And I had to be at the convention, and I had to be in Parliament at the same time.
Wow.
And then I remember that last year, before I entered Parliament, I was complaining about MPs and why MPs wanted sirens. And I called my friend and said, "Are you?" He said, "Dispatch rider." I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm at my place." I said, "Please, I need you to take me out of this traffic and get me to the constituency now and bring me back to Parliament."
Wow.
So I came to understand why they were. And can you imagine somebody whose constituency is somewhere in, say, Paga, and you have to go there with the president and then come back to Parliament?
And all that.
I think that I am in a position to explain what happens and what parliamentarians.
What do you make with what A+ said? He said that he had to go to Gomoa. The president was doing something there. He had to be there. And as we used to say, if you're a member of parliament and you know you have to go somewhere, you should be ready. You should leave at 6 o'clock. You should leave at 5 a.m. You should leave at 4 o'clock if you know the thing is 7 o'clock in the evening. We all said that. So if A+ knew that being in Gomoa, he needed to be there at a certain time, he just has to leave in the morning, or he doesn't have to come out of Gomoa in the morning if that's where he was based. But A+ is also right. Members of Parliament have multiple responsibilities. So whilst he had to be at Gomoa at 2 o'clock, he probably needed to be in somewhere at 9 a.m. in his capacity as member of parliament, maybe there was a program at Moving Pick, he had to be there. He can't say that he has a 2 o'clock at Gomoa, so he's going to remain in the Gomoa environs from Kaswa from morning till 2 o'clock so he can make it. The same things we all said that parliamentarians should know, they should plan their time. They should know that they have this to do. They have multiple things to do. They are invited everywhere. And if they don't accept the invitation, it's going to work against their political fortunes. You remember what happened to Okoboy in Teshi? He was not attending outdoorings, and they noted it down and they voted against him. And no matter how much good intention you have for the entire constituency, if you don't come to my outdooring, I'll vote against you. If you don't come to my uncle's funeral, I'll vote against you. If I'm voting against you, I'll tell my friends to vote against you, because we